So Neil, Bharat, KP, the AAHOA executive team and board, I want to thank you as a member for all that you do for our industry and putting this conference together, your leadership, your volunteering, your time and knowledge. So let's give them a big round of applause for what they're doing. The topic of this panel is really near and dear to me because I started off, like many of you, in a family business, growing up behind the front desk and watching my parents struggle through the business and navigating the world of lending and franchising and local regulations and employment and all of that stuff that we go through. And I went on then and got my undergraduate degree in economics, went to law school and practiced law for a while in the area of employment law and civil rights litigation. And I had the opportunity in 2001 to come back and join my brother in what was still a family business. And the purpose of us joining together was to really grow the business. But with that growth came a lot of the questions that hopefully we will discuss and analyze and think about today, such as building infrastructure, how to manage a growing portfolio, investment, navigating the world of investors, partnering with the management company, compensation versus what you can afford, best practices, leadership, relationships, and all the things that you go through in the journey of building out a portfolio of hotels and growing your business. I am the president and CEO of Hotel Development and Management Group, and am looking forward to sharing the next hour with you all and our panelists and discussing these issues. After we go through the first round of questions and intros for our panelists, we're more than happy to take questions from the audience. But with that, I'll start first. Actually, Dipin, we'll start with you and then move over this way with a brief introduction of yourself and your bio.
Absolutely, thank you. Not sure if you guys, oh, perfect. So my name is Deepan Patel. I'm founding principal of a hospitality company called Ascend Growth Partners and a technology investment company called Abinitio Ventures. And we also just recently started a insurance venture, which we'll probably discuss a bit more about, and also have some investments in sports. So, but it's a passion of mine, food and beverage and hospitality, so is technology and sports. So everything I do, I enjoy, and that's why I do it. From Dallas, Texas.
And I'm Taran Patel from A1 Hospitality Group. We're a Pacific Northwest-based hotel development management company, and I also have the privilege of serving on the AAHOA board as the Northwest Regional Director.
My name is Hari Krishna H.K. Patel. I'm the Mid-South Regional Director for AAHOA and owner and operator of Pramukh Darshan LLC. I have hotels in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area. And great to see everybody here.
My name is Yash. I'm one of the founders of the AGA Hotels, leading boutique hotel franchising company. We're based out of California. We started this company in 2020, and we rapidly grew into 13 properties in California.
So several of you serve on the AAHOA board, and I want you to talk to our audience about that service and how it has positively impacted your business and your growth and your leadership. And HK, we can start with you.
Sure. So to give you a background, when I was first getting into the industry, obviously, just like you, I did not first join into the hotel industry. I did bachelor's in computer science. And like many of you, your parents were into the hotel business and you took over their business to help them retire. And when I got in, I was instantly in love with the industry, flexibility, the opportunities endless. And then as I grew into the industry, I came to know there are so many issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. How do we tackle those, from insurance to franchising, and the list is endless. So then I got involved with AAHOA, I mean, the association had so many positives to it. So as I got involved, I said, look, if I want to make a difference, I think I should join the association and try to make difference at a bigger level. And so that was a reason for me to join the association.
Just quick show of hand. Who in here is a second or third generation hotelier? That's it. That's about close to 80+%. Just like you, I'm also a second generation hotelier. And being able to join our industry and witness from a young age the hard work and dedication efforts that the first generation put in, it's inspirational, right? If you understand the story of how our community immigrated from whether it's India, Africa, England, wherever you may come from, and to where we are today as a community owning over 60% of hotels in the United States, that's impressive. And it's a testament to everyone's hard work, dedication, and it comes to the point that how do you protect that? How do you ensure we continue to grow and continue to build on what we've done? And I've always been taught that getting involved at a local, state, federal level is the only way that we can have our voices heard. There's so much chatter behind the scenes. A lot of people always complain. I call them sideline heroes. They choose to complain behind the scenes, but sometimes you have to step up and put yourself in a vulnerable position and maybe out of your comfort zone if you truly want to make an impact in the industry that you're in.
Dipin and Yash, we'll start with you first. When I spoke to both of you talked about the industry and the different areas you've expanded, more so than just being a hotel owner. Yash, you're a franchisor. Dipin, you've expanded in the insurance space. And Yash, we'll start with you. Talk to our audience about that and that journey and the expansion into different verticals that are the hotel industry.
Yeah, so when I moved here in 2012, we basically, when we moved, we started as a manager in a small motel, and little by little, we were able to buy a property where I learned most of my, how to do escrows, how to get insurance, how to properly manage a property. And then in 2020, this is when we found our AGA Hotels franchising company. We were stuck with our franchise companies and other dues when the business got really hit hard in COVID when everything was shut down. None of the companies or none of them were able to help us. So me and my partner, we decided to open our own company where we were learning together how to make a FDD personally, how to comply with the local laws, and we were able to learn not just the back end, how to be an owner, how to manage a property. We were able to learn the law side and other external technology factors also.
And Dipin, how about you in terms of leadership and diversification in the insurance vertical that you've created?
Absolutely. So, before you start thinking about diversification, the important thing is to put what you have in a stable position and then say, okay, well, now let me think about what I can do next. So this insurance thing was really more of an accidental thing, just like my hotel business. Never planned on doing anything in the insurance business just because everybody thinks it's boring and nobody even thinks about it till you need it. So what happened is, I had a few other businesses prior to the hotel business, restaurants and so on. And the assumption is always the bigger you are, the better rates you get. What we learned quickly is that it's not the size of the portfolio that matters, is the classification of the assets, the geographic location of the assets. And a lot of the brokers that I used to work with would always give me a cookie cutter, okay, here's the number of locations, here's the risk factors, here's your experience modifier, and so here's your rate. Well, I came across a guy, Chris Jenkins, who showed me a different way of doing things, and he told me to carve out a few things, whether it was a different restaurant concept or a different property located in a different geographic area where we have high winds. And by carving out some of these locations, my assumption was my rates will be higher because I appear smaller than I am. And he said, no, actually no, because I can present to you in a better light to the carriers who are also looking to minimize their risk. So it was a win for all. So I kind of liked that approach. It was a kind of new approach to insurance. So The company we founded is called Novellis Insurance, and Chris kind of serves as the CEO right now, and we've got a couple of additional people who do health and basically all kinds of insurance. But I enjoyed it because I started taking interest in it. And, during the Texas freeze, a lot of large property management companies and ownership groups did not get any claims funded. We were able to get ours because we've never had a claim in the past. So again, when your insurance advisor does a proper job at keeping you in a positive light in front of the carrier, whether it's with how you structure your insurance program, to what kind of claims you've had, what kind of risk management practices you have, then it actually does help you. So that was a reason for me to diversify. It felt like there was more lateral thinking for me as opposed to more vertical, and thinking, what else I can do. During COVID times, obviously, we felt like, well, everybody needs insurance. They may not need a hotel room, but everybody had to have insurance. So I'm like, well, that sounds like a good business to get into, and we have a different approach, so let's go with it. So that's how I got into it.
So those of you who are in the back, there is some seats up closer to the front and in the middle. If you want to come up and take some of those seats, that would be perfectly fine. What I heard from these two individuals when I spoke to them is that when you're growing up in the business and then you evolve towards leading it, there can be leadership as it relates to the different verticals also that support our business. In Yash's case, he's become a franchisor. In Dipin's case, they have hotels, but they've also gone into the insurance space. And I think that that's an important thing to remember in the journey of what it is to grow up in the business and then evolve towards leading it, is that you're just not a hotel owner. There's so many other aspects of the hotel industry that you can service in the space and lead in that space. Turan, you had a great quote in your signature line that says, "What happens if we invest in developing our people and they leave us?" And the response is in your line, "What happens if we don't and they stay?" Tell us about that and culture in your company as it relates to leadership and your company's growth.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us, right, we grew up in an environment where hospitality is in our blood. Unfortunately, we can't be everywhere, all places at all times. And as we grow our companies and we develop and not only own properties, we get in third-party management, you're going to have to start hiring other people. And as you start hiring them, how do you keep that same culture that led to the initial success of the company and make sure that trickles down not only at a management level, but line level, whether it's housekeepers, maintenance, breakfast attendants, and make that strategy trickle down. And I'm a firm believer in you have to invest in your team members. You have to invest in your employees and the team members that you bring on board, and you need to take the time out of your day and explain to them the way you think of certain things, the way that you do, and give them the tools necessary to be able to convey those messages to their respective team members. It's probably one of the toughest things when you go from, I'd say when you're at 2 to 3 hotels, sure, you can be everywhere at all times, but once you get to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, it's not possible. And our first generation, they were used to having a solid grasp and knowing what's going on every single minute of the day at each of their properties, but it's no longer feasible as you grow. And if you instill that work ethic and culture at a top level, it will trickle down. And if you treat your team members right, they'll treat your guests right, and it'll lead to organic growth.
Yeah, and HK, your bio is similar to Turan. You came here with your parents, you studied. Tell us about that bio and then how you built out the management structure in terms of that owner-operator concept and partners.
Yeah, so similar, like Turan said, when we came in, we were following our parents' footsteps, how they used to run their hotels. We want to be aware of every single thing that happens to our hotels. If it's this room having issue, what did they do? How did they refund? Everything, we were in a control of that. But then obviously when you partner in with people and when you move to the bigger scales, we can't do that. So what I as an individual, what I did was created that trust within the team that, hey, if this person is trained the way I want these things to be done, then they will do it. And then obviously when they do that, you reward them. I mean, simple thank you for doing this, or rewarding them in a friendly manner, anything small, big, it goes a long way. And that's what helps you grow into the bigger scales, because if you're trying to just micromanage everything at your properties, you will have limits in your growth. So have an open mind, and if they do mistakes, have a bigger heart to forgive, because even us as an individual, we're not perfect. We do make mistakes too. Our team members are also the same way. They can make mistakes. Teach them the right ways to do it, and they will probably learn the next time not to do that. So those are the few things that we create as a culture in our hotels.
We've talked about culture and team building. Yash, team building and culture as it relates to being a franchisor and for the first time and going through all the hoops of what that means. How have you gone about doing that in terms of building a team or hiring professionals to assist in that process?
Yeah, I mean, building a team is really hard at first, especially because you have to gain their trust. It took us a lot of trials and errors, and we had to set certain guidelines to our teams, and we were able to gain trust from them by being very transparent with them, and also being very reasonable with their workload and other factors that would affect any of their, skills, basically. Yeah.
How has technology impacted you all in terms of the build out of your companies and your different verticals in different spaces? And how do you use technology to leverage all of that? You want to start first, Dipen?
Sure, I'll go first. So technology, absolutely, it's an enabler. Allows you to be in multiple places at any given point in time. And as Yash mentioned, once you build that trust factor, then you do not need to be physically there at all times. So we leverage technology to ensure that our team is using, for example, whether it's responding to trouble tickets or whether it's the leveraging the app or whatever. As much as we can, we try to do it. One thing we do differently is we don't call it training, because I've heard this, and you might have heard it too, where they say you train a dog, but you teach a human being. So, when if you say, I'm going to train you, well, no, I'm not trying to train you. I'm trying to make your life easy. I'm trying to make your life better. And by using technology, you're going to feel good about it. And it's harder for some of the older generation who has been doing the job the same way for many, many years. But once you do shoulder to shoulder, kind of teach them how to do certain things, it actually does help. So to me, technology has allowed me to do multiple things, and without it, I don't think I would have been able to expand.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. It's whether you're building a house, a hotel, or a company, you need a strong foundation before you can go up. And I would argue that technology is the foundation of our companies, whether it's an accounting software, PMS system, payroll processing company. Nowadays, we rely on these technologies to simplify our day-to-day tasks and routines, and without having the correct infrastructure in place in your respective companies, it's tough to scale. It's tough to scale it. You need to make sure you have a solid grasp and understanding, and if you don't understand, ask the right questions, do demos. Recently, we switched accounting softwares, and I think we demoed north of 18 different softwares before coming to the one that we felt was right. And we made sure not only did we sit on these demos, but we had our team members involved. We created focus groups with our team, and we got their input, because everyone hates change. Everyone is resistant to change, but if you make them feel like they're part of your process of selecting the new technology that you're wanting to implement, you'll make it a much seamless process for everyone. So technology is the core of all our businesses. I think the CEO of Domino's said it best, that we're no longer a pizza company, we're a technology company that's in the business of making pizza.
So question to you guys, how many of you have heard that labor is an issue in our industry, or any industry in that matter? Mostly everybody, right? So when you talk about labor shortage, labor issues, I mean, first thing these days come to mind is using of technology to replace that human factor that we're unable to get. We're not trying to get rid of human factor, but when you guys are walking the trade show floor, there's several companies that have the kiosks that are checking in, checking out any services that need. So technology for our hotels, we're trying to implement that. Also, one thing, and I think it was on news that a hotel in Cincinnati it's a Delta hotel in Cincinnati. They have a delivery robot. So if a guest calls the front desk and they want towels, toilet paper, anything they need, the front desk will load it up and send it to the room, and the robot will go to the room and deliver. So when you think about technology changes, back in the day, we would have to send somebody up there, maybe lock the offices, whatnot. So it is very important to adapt the technology and very helpful as we go with the technology.
Yeah, so technology is very important for our hotel industry, especially in my case, it is the backbone of my company. We very rely on marketing and website, which is basically all tech related. We also try to help our owners, very focused on, rather than doing manual writings and manual check-ins, to go to PMS and make it more cleaner, easier for them, easier for us, and then the accounting software we recommend, instead of just writing on the notes like old times. So I believe technology is the best thing for us, and for hotels, it's the most important thing to be able to proceed and grow faster.
So we've covered a good number of topics already in terms of culture and technology and building out infrastructure and leadership and the different spaces in which you can grow in the hotel space, from evolving to growing up in the business to someone that truly is a leader in the business. I want to pause at this point and see if there's questions from the audience for the panelists before we move on to some of our other topics.
So majority of people, when they start out, we would like lease properties or something. And then now currently with inflation and stuff, it's almost impossible to get a loan or anything like that without like the high rates. So I was just wondering, what are your guys' thoughts or any other options on, or people using property management to fill in for their leases on different properties or running 2 or 3 leases at one time?
As far as leases, I believe it's the owner's choice, but as far as like the loans and inflations, I agree. Everybody's getting hit hard with the inflations and stuff. I really do recommend going to all the AAHOA education sessions for that. They really help you with understanding with how to get loans with SBA. They'll help you with a lot of other factors that'll be easier for new first-time owners, and also if anybody that needs to get more information on any of that information. Yeah.
So actually, I would reply to your answer as well. Question as well. That when you said go to AAHOA website, so that's what AAHOA is working on, building a resource library. So first-time hotel owners, like several of you guys, when you come into the industry and you don't know where to start, that's where we will be the first initial step that you guys as a new hoteliers can put your foot in the door and say, how can I get loans? How can I fill out my loan package and stuff like that? So within the next few months or so, those steps will be coming on AAHOA's website, and we'll be marketing that as well. So, and meanwhile, obviously, we do have lots of lenders that partner with AAHOA that you guys can also talk to, and they're very helpful in that case.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And actually, just this morning, I was having a conversation with the lender on the trade show floor, and he says, "Look, your industry is one of our favorite asset classes right now." I said, "Why is that the case? Interest rates are high, inflation's high." He says, "There's very few industries you can be in right now where you have the ability to adjust your rate on a night-to-night basis. So if you stick to that narrative, share that story with your lenders, and educate them." They may be loan officers, but they don't understand our business. They don't understand the nuances and the aspects of revenue management and our ability to control revenues that are coming in on a day-to-day basis versus other industries, whether it's multifamily, retail, office space. They're locked into 5-year leases, 2-year leases, 4-year leases, or one-night leases. Or if Neil's in the room, hourly leases. So, We have that flexibility in our industry.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to let Neil forget what he said this morning. But I think that Tarun brings up a good point. So we are a very resilient industry. You might have seen that in Bharat's presentation this morning too. Just the sheer GDP that we contribute. It's an industry, it's a force to be reckoned with. If you look at the cap rates, which your lenders would understand, yes, the rates are high, but if you explain to the lenders that if there's a multifamily guy trying to borrow money, or an industrial real estate guy trying to borrow money, the cap rates are so low on those that it's really hard, even if you don't over leverage, it's really hard to finance those. If I was a bank, I would be lending money to hotels. Yes, the rates are high, but at least like Tarun mentioned, you are able to control supply and demand, versus in some of these other fixed lease situations, whether it's storage or any of those asset classes, it's a very different ballgame there. So our industry starts to look very attractive to the lenders pretty soon.
I would also add that lending is a relationship business, so the more you're at events like AAHOA, the more likely you're going to meet a lender, even if it's a lease where the terms are more favorable than what the market might otherwise provide. And the other thing I think that goes back to is working in a business versus leading it, and the difference between the two. When you're leading your business, it gives you time to sit back and think about your P&L and how that higher rate is going to interact with your P&L, your asset value, what that valuation might also be over time. Just because rates are high, and we're in a period of rate volatility right now, it doesn't mean there are not deals out there. There are. And it might affect deal pricing because rates are higher, so you might be able to get a hotel at a better price now with higher rates than you otherwise might be able to get in a lower rate environment, and the leases become a little bit more palatable. But that concept of leading your business or working on your business versus working in your business and making that transition, I think, is really important. And events such as this and panels such as this, I think, really help in that regard. RP.
I'll take that.
Yes.
Question
Oh.
for all four of you. When we're talking about culture, how do you teach ethical culture to your staff?
Okay, I'll go. So culture is important, right? We can't emphasize that enough. I mean, some of you who attended the very first session on day one might have heard RP touch on some spiritual aspects of how do you present your core values to your team. It's not necessarily religious preachings. It is just how you conduct yourself. And I kind of talked about Chick-fil-A as an example, where their culture is so drastically better than any other QSR, quick service restaurant business, that they have double the sales even with 52 days less in a year because they're closed on Sundays. So it's crucial. So at our company, what we do, my partner Shai is sitting back there somewhere, and we always talk about it at Ascend Growth Partners. We talk about the fact that we don't believe money buys happiness. I think if you're honest with each other and if you're hospitable, that results into happiness. So that's the culture we try to build at our buildings, and we tell all our employees that that's how you should be conducting yourself. Just be honest about things with the guests, with each other, with the staff, with management, as to what your challenges are, what your frustrations are. We might not be able to solve all of them, but at least we heard you. And then be hospitable. That's the business we're in. So you cannot ignore the hospitality side of things and say you're a hospitality company. You're not. So when you do those two things, then automatically, in my opinion, you start feeling good about it and you start feeling happy about what you do day in and day out. So that's one example of what we do to set the culture.
Yeah, I would say it starts by taking a look in the mirror. It's a trickle-down effect. It starts by you. You need to make sure you're being ethical with your team members. Make sure they are being paid based on market rates and you're not taking advantage of them. Don't overwork them. And organically, to Neil's point, that it will trickle down. It's a process. Trust the process. But if you keep at it, it does. It organically trickles down and you'll intrinsically have that culture built within your organizations.
You know, I don't like this guy. He took my answer. I mean.
HK, you have a very compelling answer that we talked about.
Yes. So first thing I say is look at yourself. How a leader always leads by examples. So whatever you do, your team will do. So how you treat them, they will treat you the same way. And one example that Azim is talking about, one of my employees had a very bad incident in the family. Her son had passed away. And she was just terrified. The whole situation was just not handleable. And she called, she said, I cannot take off work because I cannot survive. And that's her living her day-to-day basis. I said, that's not the point here. You need to take care of your family first. Everything else can be after. We took care of her family, funerals, cost, everything was taken care of by our company. And also, she was on a paid leave until she felt comfortable. There was no time limit. Told her, come back when you feel comfortable coming back to work. And that shows that we're treating them as a family, not an employee. Because you treat your employee as a family, they will treat you like family. And that's where it begins, within yourself. So that's one thing that you keep in mind, treat them like a family, and they will do that.
So yeah, and culture and ethics in hospitality is very important, I believe. One of the first things we teach when we hire someone is that be friendly, obviously, and then treat everyone like family. And we can't just tell them, we have to show them, like HK said, as a leader. So every time there's holidays or anything, all of our hotels, what we do is we have our owners, management, employees get together, do a little party. It's just how we treat everybody. It's just like a family. It's just when we treat someone as a family, they will treat our customers and everybody as a family. So I believe ethics, just doing the right thing is very important for the hospitality industry, and I think that's the way to go.
I think earlier Tarun mentioned that you can reinvest in human capital, and I wanted to see if the panel had a couple of examples of how you could do that and build out a better team.
I have a perfect example actually within our.
For the benefit of the back people, can you just repeat his question?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was a great question. He was alluding to an earlier topic that we were talking about, how reinvesting in human capital is imperative to continuing to grow, and he wanted a specific example of that being replicated in the workplace within our companies. I'll give one of our properties. It's a Holiday Inn Express in a small town in eastern Oregon. It was built in 2004, and we had an opening day housekeeper who was part of that team. This housekeeping, it's a larger Hispanic community. Her, along with majority of the housekeeping staff, spoke minimal English. That individual expressed interest to her immediate supervisor that she's interested in learning the language a little more, the English language. So we helped her out, we guided her through the process, we got classes for her, we guided her. Eventually, she grew within that role. She became the housekeeping supervisor of the Holiday Inn Express. A few years later, she continued to exemplify growth, and we started sending her to more trainings, getting her more kind of throwing her in different unique situations that you typically don't throw a housekeeper in, just to see how she would respond. She responded well. She got promoted to executive housekeeper. A couple of years later, she got promoted to assistant general manager. Today, she was the general manager of that Holiday Inn Express, which is a number 12 ranked Holiday Inn Express in the United States. And that's a testament to her hard work, her leadership that she did. And then another cool story that goes along with this is sometimes when you develop team members internally, they lose their pay scale. You give them a 10% raise anytime they jump a new position. And it got to a point where she was our general manager at a salary of about $50,000. And we're here growing our company. We're hiring, onboarding new GMs for new properties, and market wages $85,000, $90,000. So just during the pandemic, a lot of companies were so worried about onboarding new talent because they didn't have enough team members to operate their hotels that we took a different approach. We looked at retaining the team members that we had in-house, and we reevaluated everyone's pay wages, and on average we had to increase everyone's reward loyalty. It was about 20 to 25% on average increase of wages, and you can't punish someone for going through the ranks and growing within. You have to value them, and that's a key aspect of reinvesting in your employees. Did I answer your question? Hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll also answer that on my personal note as well, how we can invest in. One thing I've always felt it was important was education, and not only for your employees, also think about scholarships. Donate to scholarships that educate employees, family members. Create some kind of a culture that you can educate your employees' family. That goes a long way because a lot of our employees have their children that they want to be at a higher level than they are. They want to give them the good education. Help them with education scholarships. If you have somebody that knows that does that, all you have to do is make a phone call. Hey, I have this person that needs some scholarship. Can you please help them out? That will go a long way because that's, in a sense, you're investing in it because that person one day could become a business graduate and they could help you and down the road in your other businesses too. So that's a long-term investment, but that could pay off well as well. So education is very important for everybody and you helping could go a long way. So.
Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, as a perfect example to invest in human capital would be me. My first job was a valet, but then my uncle was opening his new property, and I asked him, can I start as a front desk at the location? And he agreed to it, and I told, after a few months of working there, I knew that I could do better than that. I wanted to grow more, so I told him, can you help me, can you guide me and help me grow? And what he did was he agreed on basically showing that if I show him that I'm capable of growing, then he'll give me higher positions and he'll give me more work to do. And at that point, he would show me his new constructions, tell me how to do plans, how to read the plans and all that. And after a couple years, I was able to get a general manager position, and then I'm helping him with his new builds at his other locations, and I'm learning how to do opening operations and stuff.
How old are you, Yash? Can you tell all that?
I'm 23.
23-year-old. So think about that.
Any other questions? Oh,
Argument that a lot of parents and children have. It's like, you want to step in, but then your mom or dad's like, hey, you can't do it this way. And you're like, nah, like, this is how I want to do it. Your method's not really going to work for me anymore. So, what does that transition sort of look like?
so the question is, what does the transition look like from a second generation taking over from a first generation, and how do you navigate the role of, especially your parents, in that type of transition?
So I can jump in because I was in the situation just recent years. I mean, down 5-7 years ago. And I think the best way to do it is respectfully correct them because you have to show them that the culture that they had created was in the time when the environment, the things that was normal is not normal anymore. But if you show them the right way, I think they do understand. One thing I personally thought was very important is take the value that your parents gave to the business. Don't take the business for granted. And that's something that I very much keep it close to myself is they earned it, they worked so hard for it. And that hard work is something that I take it and I want to hand it down to my children that don't take this business for granted because it is not easy for what they did. I don't think half of us could have done what they did when they first came to this country. They did not know English. They did not know what they were putting themselves into. And they did it for our better future. And I think I understand we do get aggressive at times that, hey, stay away. Please let us do our business our way. But at the same time, we have to understand that they don't know the new world. They're not used to the new way of doing business. So I think there's pros and cons of it, and you have to just juggle with it basically how the case-to-case basis when it comes to that. So.
I would argue the key element to our success as a community is the two differing opinions of minds, right? If you're able to have a productive conversation and dialogue with the first generation, second generation, third generation, what it is, and if you're able to blend it all together, I think that's why we've been so successful as a community. It's accepting the input from the first generation because they're the ones who started the business, they're the ones who grew it, and we may, as the second generation or third generation, think they don't know what they're talking about anymore, but they know way more than we can imagine. We may have gone to school, gone to college, got a master's degree, but you can't replicate the hard work, dedication that they put in. And when you blend the new technologies, the evolution together with the first generation's expertise and skill set, I think that's how you grow. I think the key is getting away from the mindset of two differing opinions. Get the buy-in and convince them, prove it to them. Say, hey, this is what I think we should be doing. Here's reason X, Y, Z. Let them hear. Maybe they'll have a rebuttal to it, but maybe they have an idea that combines your idea and you're able to blend it together and it comes with the best approach.
I mean, both great answers. One thing I'll add is that, there's a common language that all generations speak, and that common language is money. So, so when you explain to them why what you're doing is going to either A, make more money, or B, save some money, then that takes the emotion out of the business, right? And maybe you teach, you learn that at MBA school or you learn somewhere else, but that is one thing that ties us all together, keeps us all connected, is we're here to be enterprising, we're here to make it better. And while we make it better, either we're growing the top line or we're improving the bottom line. And if you explain to them that it's not that they're, that I'm smarter than you or you did it this way because that was your days, forget all that. The common platform is ultimately the return on that investment that they've worked so hard for. So when they see it that way, they might be more receptive to your ideas.
Yeah, and I would say what they're saying is that the struggle between growth and identity is going to be there when there's growth. So also look at it as a positive. You wouldn't have that challenge were the growth not there. And that challenge, I think, will be ongoing.
I'm technically a hybrid of first and second generation. So if my kid wanted to get into this business, I would make them start from front desk to grow and then learn from experience and guide them along the way, basically. So that's what I think.
Any other questions from the audience?
I just had a quick question. So, given that a lot of the people in this room are young professionals, and from your experiences, if you could go back 5-10 years and give yourself a piece of advice that would have maybe made your path not necessarily easier, but just things that would have helped out efficiently, effectively in your trajectory where you are right now, what would that one or two pieces of advice look like?
One thing that comes to my mind right as you ask the question is getting involved, not just at the association level, but also at legislation, local level, governmental level, because I wasn't involved until I got into AAHOA. I was not even thinking about getting involved until I got into AAHOA. And if I could have gotten involved before, I would have made so many people's life easier by making contacts to your local elected officials. And it's not as hard as you guys think. If you find your local elected officials' numbers and you call them, trust me, we were in DC just last month. We sat down with Senator Rand Paul. He openly invited us for a round table meeting. We did not ask for it. Obviously we would love it. If we asked for it, he would give it to us, but he asked us. He said, why don't you guys set up a round table, and I would like to sit down and see what kind of issues are you guys facing. So get involved. That's the one advice I would give myself if I go back 5 years.
I mean, I agree. I would get involved earlier, and I would learn. I think the important thing is to learn technical things and small details, such as how to do escrow, how to read escrow documents, how to read loan documents, and there's a lot of insurance, how to do proper insurance on your property, because we do general insurance, but there's also very little things that you could add on the insurance to ensure yourself that you're not liable for anything. So I believe all that will help. Basically, getting involved in AAHOA would help a lot too. So I think I should have got involved in AAHOA a lot earlier.
Yeah, both great answers. I would echo their sentiment. Get involved not only locally, but at state, federal level, and you'll be surprised, especially at the local level. That's where you can make the biggest difference, and you organically your business will grow. You'll make connections. You may meet a individual who you have no idea how this person is going to benefit you. 3 months later, they're going to call you and say, hey, I have a big convention coming to town. I need a block of 200 rooms. Can you help me out, right? So never underestimate any individual that you're talking to. Everyone has something to give, and take the time, network with them, talk to them, and learn. These conferences are amazing. You get to meet so many different people from across the country, and everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own unique situations and scenarios, and pick their brains, talk to them, have a dialogue with them, and don't always be in a rush. Take the time to finish a conversation and learn, digest it all, and then go back home and think about what you learned your week at AAHOACON and implement it in your businesses.
Yeah, like if I had to, give myself advice 5 years ago, it would be, figure out what you're really good at. And I think it was hard for me to figure out because I kept doing a lot of different things, and I realized what I was good at a little late in life. So if you take the time to figure out, hey, this I really enjoy and this I don't, find a mentor. A lot of times we get busy with our day-to-day stuff and trying to, just get so self-focused that we forget that having a good mentor is so crucial. And if you have a mentor early on in your life, that could completely change the direction, and it could completely speed up the process of success for you. So all great answers, getting involved, getting engaged, finding a mentor to me, and just listening to that person, because they have nothing to gain by giving you bad advice. So find that trusted mentor and listen to what they have to say.
Deepan, one topic that we haven't covered, which I wanted to cover, is the role of the management company and versus the owner. What's the expectation there in terms of balancing the role between the owner and management company? What are the industry standard in terms of what people who want to retain a management company should expect to pay?
Yeah. So, I've seen all flavors of it. Typically, we like to manage our own properties, but in different situations, we have a management company that is approved by Hilton, Marriott, IHG, so we can manage any property. That's not the issue. But just have a set of requirements defined up front with the owners as to what your management company will be allowed to do and will not be allowed to do. Whether it's capital expenditure approvals, whether it's getting involved in a PIP or management industry norm is 3%, right? Management fees, but you got to be understanding. Like during COVID, we didn't take any management fees because they didn't have any management fees to give us, and most of them were friends and family. So we didn't feel like, okay, well we'll get it at the back end. We don't need it right now. We know what you guys are going through. So again, it's case by case, but it's important to get the owners and the management company to be on the same page. So have some sort of a governing document that, contract, yes, it's a good thing to have a big, long 50-page contract, but just some basic bullet points on what do you expect from us as a management company. Let's be crystal clear on day-to-day ops, hiring, firing, capital expenditure, PIP decisions, that sort of stuff. So when it's laid out, it's very easy, and a quick call can solve the problem.
Yeah, a similar story for our company. We own and operate our own assets as well as do third-party management. And I always say there's two types of owners in the world. You have the owners that say, don't call me unless my hotel's burning down. And the other owner that says, hey, I saw you spent $35 to cut the grass. I have a guy who can do it for $30, right? So having that governing document in place that sets the roles and expectations of management company versus ownership. Just like you, many of you own and operate your own hotel. It's hard to let go of the reins and hand it off to a third-party company. You tend to critique every single dollar that's spent versus realizing the benefit of the time value of money of your time that you're not spending on the asset, and two, the increase in revenue that a third-party management can bring. So that governing document is important, and don't be afraid to say no. If you're a management company or third-party operator and you know an owner probably doesn't fit your style of operations, just politely say no and move on to the next asset.
So yeah, I mean, don't be one of those owners that call him for $35 to $30 difference. When you do have a management company, also have a clear mind that not every person is same. Everybody in the industry is not the same. So somebody might have a different need. So have a flexibility on your company that you are willing to manage a property that's in the rules to the property that's in the New York City. So you want to be flexible, and as an owner, you want to have obviously, like, as flexibility is both ways. You got to be flexible with the company as well. As an owner, you want to make sure you're getting the return that you want to, but then don't be so greedy and say this is not correct. So you have to be open dialogue in the beginning, and like both of them said, have a legal document set in place so that way you are not burnt when it comes to any obligations in the relationship with the company and you by yourself as well. So
Yeah, I believe in managing your own property. I mean, if your portfolio is big enough, I believe in building your own team to manage the properties. If you're willing to give up your keys to the management team, you could hire a management a company outside of you. But if you're not willing to give up your keys, then I recommend building your own team. So you don't have to. You're still hands-on, but you're not dealing with small, detailed issues that goes on a daily basis.
Are there any other last questions from the audience? So,
I know, tying into his question and kind of what our slogan for this year's is you guys talked about the past, but what do you guys see for creating a bolder future for the young professionals here?
I think I really encourage everybody, all the young people, to get engaged with AAHOA. I think that's the most important thing, that our goal should be, just like how our parents and everybody did, have a big group as in future so we could stay strong in the hospitality industry and be as a unit and not get saturated and separated away from us.
So bolder future, how can we create bolder future? I think everybody wants to see the bottom line grow. I mean, it has been shrinking for a while. And one of the big things that AAHOA as an association is working on is cutting down on OTA fees. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know we're on upwards of 15 to 17% in OTA fees, right? So for many of you, you guys are probably getting into the boutiques of the world, independents of the world. And the work that AAHOA is doing is going to be just for that majority. Obviously, we're going to be working for the branded properties as well, but having our own platform for the OTA will help big time. And what it will do is cut your rates down into under 10%. And that's something that AAHOA is working for you guys as a growth in your future. How can you have your bottom line grow? So that's something that we are definitely working for. Also, to educate our new hoteliers that are coming into the industry. We have so many education seminars that will teach you how you can grow and what you can do. And obviously, talking to each other, the network that you build, that will help you grow as well.
Yeah, Peter, anytime that anyone throws the word future out there, it goes back to technology. Someone asked a great question earlier on what sort of technological changes are you making within your organization? And part of that is getting involved, attending events like this and learning what new technology is out there and not being scared to implement that into your organizations, because technology, when used correctly, it's meant to make our life easier in not only our lives, but our team members' lives. And when you can do that for them, they'll appreciate it, and they'll be able to spend more time and focus on delivering the level of customer service that they need to your guests. Because at the end of the day, that's what our business is. We're delivering sleep and shower, right? And we can't go away from that core principle of what we're delivering. It's completely different than the way we did it 20 years ago, the way we're doing it now. But at the end of the day, if you simplify our business, that's what we're in the business of. So how do we do it in the best way possible?
Okay, so you got some good responses as from AAHOA board members. I'll speak as a member. How do you create a bolder future as a member, right? AAHOA is going to do what it's going to do. As a member, what you guys are doing by showing up here is showing interest in how do we learn about leadership, or how do we get engaged, or how can we contribute. So building a bolder future, to me, it just starts with being more creative and being more involved in a cause that just kind of resonates with you, whether it's AAHOA, whether it's some other charitable organization, anything that motivates you. But you know, when you do anything, I think people know you as hoteliers or AAHOA members. So somehow all that positive stuff comes back to AAHOA. But I think you guys are a big part of creating that bolder future. So again, giving feedback to AAHOA on what you would like to see, you know, in this journey towards a bolder future. I think I look at it as we need to ask that question to ourselves and accept the responsibility as individuals and as members as to how can we help create that bolder future.
So I'd like to thank everyone for attending, thank our panelists. Oh, is there one more question?
RP has one more question.
Oh, RP.
Rather than a comment, it's a shameless plug-in. Every year, AAHOA has its youth conference co-located where high tech takes place. That's where you are in a position to see all the technologies that you can look at, feel, touch, demo, and see what's the right technology for you to implement. This year, the High Tech Conference is in Toronto, Canada, and you'll get free passes to the exhibit floors as well. And that link will be shared by AAHOA with everyone. So I encourage everyone, get your feet wet, see what's out there, then you'll know how to better your operations or what you are trying to do in your growth journey.
I agree wholeheartedly as someone who's attended high tech and
Yes.
And we talk about mentors in the room. RP is a great mentor and someone that I personally have learned a lot from. Thank you, panelists, also.
Thank you.
Truly grateful for you all.